Hi, my name is Andrea Morris, and I am going to talk about minimalist marketing strategies. And that is basically um, simplifying and paring down your business and marketing strategy so that marketing and your business don't overwhelm you, they don't take over and control your life, and so you can make more money for your time and get back to enjoying your business and having a really great work-life balance and finding satisfaction and being able to live within your values. So all of that comes together in this minimalist marketing strategy that I believe almost any small business can find a way to implement some of these minimalist marketing strategies. And right off the bat, I'll apologize. I might be interrupted a few times. I might have to pause and restart because I have a 3-year-old who might decide to come in and join me for a little bit. My cat might join me as well. But most of the time I will be sharing my screen so you can see the content of my presentation. And once in a while I might jump back so you get to see my face again. All right, I will get started. Okay, again, this is to reduce marketing overwhelm, to make more money for your time, and to achieve better work-life satisfaction and more joy. And to do this, I'm going to share some ideas for how you can change your mindset around marketing and start to use simple and consistent minimalist marketing strategies. So, does this sound like you? You're trying to do all the marketing, multiple social media channels, every event that people ask you to do, you're trying to reach every market segment, and it becomes exhausting and overwhelming. Or do you think that you can do more in the time that you have than is actually realistic, and then you're always coming up short and feeling disappointed in yourself? Are you having trouble deciding on a target market or having a hard time connecting with clients or expressing what makes you great? Are you you started your business to do something you love, but then it becomes so stressful that it's not even enjoyable or satisfying anymore? You might be wondering about all the different directions you can take your business and marketing strategy. You just wish somebody would come along and tell you what to do. Or maybe you've tried a bunch of marketing or business courses, but you never actually get around to implementing anything and you feel like you're not making progress. So if any of those sound like you, this presentation, this training will likely be able to help you. And there are 6 key takeaways. So the first one is why you need to be really clear about your personal values and your lifestyle goals before setting your business goals and strategies. Otherwise, they will always be out of alignment. The second key takeaway is how you can describe your business in a way that gets people to identify themselves as your clients or customers. So you're not having to do as much work persuading them that you're the right person for them. They can take your message and identify themselves in your message and realize that you would be a great person for them to work with. Another takeaway is how to make your marketing decisions a lot simpler by adopting a simple, consistent message and strategy. It reduces a lot of that decision fatigue when you know exactly what you're trying to do and you are consistently working toward it. A lot of that comes from your message because you're not only telling your audience about your message, you're telling yourself what your message is consistently. The fourth key takeaway is how to make more money for the time you put into your business by focusing on just a couple strategies. So that's in essence a byproduct of paring down, being more consistent, and adopting more simple marketing strategies. And another takeaway is you can create quite a bit of marketing content all at once without a ton of effort. Again, once you get clear on your message and the perspective that you bring to your business. And over a lot of time, over time, that can save lots and lots of time and mental energy. And then the sixth takeaway would be developing there's a straightforward process for settling on this clear, focused, simple, and minimalist marketing strategy that I'm going to be talking about and training on. And so even if you've heard some of these concepts before, I just want you to please resist the urge to think, I've heard this before, or I know this already. I just ask that you come in with a fresh mind and consider everything that I'm sharing with an open mind. And then at the end of the training, you'll be able to make a choice on whether or not you want to start implementing these ideas in your business. So a little about me. I am Andrea Morris. I'm a freelance marketer and writer. I work with small businesses to develop thoughtful, concise business and marketing strategies that match their lifestyle and their values. And I also help small businesses create consistent, persuasive marketing content like websites, printed materials, digital marketing materials, email newsletters, and more. And I have owned several small and solopreneur businesses. I've also been doing freelance marketing, writing and editing on and off for about 7 years, and I've been writing in some form or another for most of my life. And I have experienced all of the stumbling blocks of small business marketing that I'm going to talk about. And I've made the mistake of feeling like I was never doing enough to make my business succeed. And I was also simultaneously chasing way too many marketing strategies. And I've seen how much easier business gets for my freelance marketing clients, how much easier it is to make decisions and take actions and increase sales when they pare down their choices and do more minimalist marketing. And this works for clients at all stages of their business. So people who are just starting out, who've been doing this for years, and really need to focus on a better, more streamlined marketing strategy so they can move in the direction they've been wanting to. And the minimalism comes in because I personally have been practicing a minimalist lifestyle for about 1.5 years now, and it's really been a saving grace. It's made all the difference in my life. After I discovered it about 1.5 years ago, I made a big push to reduce my possessions, and I noticed very quickly I became a lot less scattered, a lot less frazzled, and I was able to focus on what was important to me. And my mentality changed a lot. So I started to, once I saw the benefit of owning fewer possessions, I really just wanted to minimize everything in my life. My decision-making processes, where I shop, the products I use, and it especially changed how I view my businesses and my life. And a blessed bonus has been that I've become more decisive and more assured in my decisions because I know the thought process that went into them. And I'll give an example to start on how minimalism turned my business around. It really helped me become profitable and then satisfied with what I was doing with my small business. So recently I had a small urban organic flower farm in my backyard in West Lafayette, Indiana. And for the first 2 years, I just tried to do everything. Farmers markets, pop-up events, I was selling to florists, I did a flower subscription, workshops, and even more. And based on what other flower farmers were doing, I just felt that I had to do all of this. So many people said, you have to be extremely diversified to make it as a flower farmer. And over time, I began to realize that a lot of flower farmers, a lot of farmers in general, are workaholics and they enjoy that. I did not want that to be my life, however. And it can definitely be helpful to experiment at the start of a business. And diversification is important, but I was always doing more than I reasonably had time for. And during one of the 3 years, I even had daycare for my son, who was then 1 or 2, but that was my craziest year, and in a lot of ways my least successful year, because I tried to do even more. I thought that I had more time available, but I just kept adding more in. And I was literally killing myself, and I was miserable. My family was miserable, and I wasn't even successful, even though I was working my ass off. And it really just boiled down to that I didn't have time to get good at any aspect of my business because I was trying to do too much. And so later in this webinar, I'll talk about how I settled on one specific business strategy, and then I turned the business around in my 3rd year. And if this example sounds extreme, it was. Farming is really, really difficult work, but small and solopreneur businesses are also really difficult. And it wouldn't surprise me if you have your own version of this business experience. So on to the common marketing stumbling blocks that I see. One of the most common ones is simply not having a marketing strategy or plan. So a lot of people just do kind of ad hoc social media posts or email newsletters, or they might decide to attend an event because somebody asks. They basically just don't have a plan for selling themselves or their product with a clear end goal in mind. And a second marketing stumbling block is not taking the time to align your business and your marketing strategy with your personal goals and values. And that creates a lot of problems down the line because I'm being distracted by my cat here, because you can very easily wind up with a business that doesn't serve you in the way you initially wanted it to. If you got into a small business in order to have more freedom and flexibility from a traditional 9-to-5 job, oftentimes small businesses just completely overwhelm us and we wind up working 60 hours a week, or like a common way to describe that is, sure, now I have the freedom to work 80 hours a week instead of 40 hours a week in my 9-to-5 job. So again, I think that aligning those strategies with your personal values before you get started is really important. And number 3, a lot of people try to be everything for everyone, meaning they want to just be able to access everyone, or they think everyone is going to love what they do. And so they don't establish a niche for themselves. And that creates a lot of problems with marketing and messaging and knowing who you are and what you do. And it just makes it a lot more difficult to make decisions for your business, from what I've seen. Number 4 is lack of a simple, consistent message that you can articulate at any time and that you feel comfortable sticking with. And this becomes a problem because you might explain yourself differently with every person you meet, or you might not be able to explain yourself clearly, or you just don't know well enough what you do, so you can't explain it to people. And people walk away wondering, like, either like, well, why should I purchase from this person? You know, they don't get that clear, direct message telling them why you are a good fit for them. Number 5 in the common marketing stumbling blocks is overwhelm. So there are tons of marketing options out there and you just want to pursue them all. Or you have shiny object syndrome, where you might start with one marketing strategy and then you get distracted by a different one that sounds cool. Like you read about it and then you're like, oh, I need to do that. But usually that's not accompanied with any shift in your plans or strategy. So then again, it winds up being that you're just doing marketing work without a clear end goal in mind. And number 6, a common marketing stumbling block is that we think we can do more than our time allows, which is extremely common. we just we just think that things won't take as much time as they do, or we forget to build in slack in our days. Like we forget to build in those buffers of time to allow for things that come up that we don't expect, or new opportunities, or whatever it may be. We just try to squeeze every minute out of our days, and that usually winds up burning people out. You feel exhausted, and you just feel like your business isn't working for you. So if you're experiencing any of these, don't feel bad. You're not alone. I have done all of these. And only now that I've developed this clear perspective on how to keep a business focused and simplified and minimal, have I been able to move away from these stumbling blocks. So I'll just take a quick break, and I'd really like to hear from you. I'd really love for you to actually email me. What problems are you having with your business? How is this relevant to your life? What part of this so far resonates with you? So you can email me, and I will reply. I might not reply immediately. I probably won't reply immediately, but I will definitely reply if you'd like to give me some thoughts on what part of this is relevant to you. And I'm going to pause for a few seconds while I give you some time to think about this, and then I'll come back in like 30 seconds to a minute. So I really sincerely hope you spent a little bit of time thinking about that. And I know you may not have actually gotten time to email me in that very brief amount of time, but I do hope that you consider sending me an email with what you're thinking about. In case there's no link, or in case the button doesn't work, my email address is wags, WAGS 2182@gmail.com. So again, I really encourage you to just reach out, send me a quick message about what you're thinking, what you're feeling about all of this. And now I will continue with the screen sharing. Okay. So now we're going to move into the training portion of this. So I will share some of my personal insights on how you can finally focus on a particular strategy that makes sense for you in your life, and then start to move forward in your business. And the benefits are you have more clarity, you make more money for the time you put in, you get to have that really wonderful sense that you're living your values, and then all of that put together really makes life simpler, less complicated, more joyful experience. And we hear all the time about hustling to make our business succeed. Like that small businesses, like you have to just be willing to kill yourself for the first few years, or you need to take on side hustles if you're working a regular job. You need to lean in, you have to do it all, you have to have it all. And I see this all the time with working mothers, of whom I am one of those, but I also see that everyone is taking on more and more responsibilities all the time. And these aren't bad messages, especially when we have to make ends meet. But they do put a lot of pressure on a lot of people to just do more all the time. It's never enough. And we often just find ourselves feeling dissatisfied with our efforts if we're not constantly hustling. And that's just not an enjoyable way to live life. And so to an extent, I want to give you permission to take some of the pressure off. You don't need to work constantly to make your business succeed. You definitely still need to make money, yes, but not at the expense of your sanity, your health, or your life. And I really speak from experience with this. I have definitely been that workaholic trying to get my small business off the ground and winding up, anxious, depressed, having a hard time sleeping, just all of those things that really impact quality of life. So a big takeaway here is you just don't have to do it all. You don't have to do every marketing strategy. You don't have to try to reach every single market segment. You can be thoughtful, focus, and choose your mindset on marketing success and know precisely what fulfills you, and then make those thoughtful, mindful decisions about where you want to take your business and your marketing strategy so that it matches your life values. And really, that makes all the difference in clearing away that constant fog of options that's kind of like always hanging over you, and then finding peace and satisfaction and joy in your small business. And we're going to do a few case studies right now. So one of my clients is a speech coach named Angela, and for the longest time she's said that she can work with almost anyone. She works with small businesses, corporations, college students, university administrators, government entities, everything. And she has the skills. She's excellent at what she does, so she really is able to work with anyone and everyone. But because she was doing that for so long, she couldn't pinpoint the needs of any specific group and tailor her offerings to them or speak specifically to their problems. So oftentimes she'll be talking to a potential client, somebody who's expressed interest in what she does, and she says, "What kind of speech coaching do you need?" And that very often failed to actually get that client because they didn't know what they needed. They needed somebody to describe clearly and specifically what they do so they could then identify with that. So because Angela couldn't state it clearly, that prospective client wasn't able to see how she could help them. And so we are currently working on adopting a more minimalist strategy, providing speech coach to medical doctors so they can improve their communication with patients and advance in their profession. It becomes much more tailored to one specific audience, a pretty small specific group of people, and with two primary outcomes that will speak to a lot of medical doctors. So by paring down who she works with and choosing a more specific target market, Angela will better be able to choose the networking events she attends. She'll be able to talk about herself more clearly when she attends these networking events, and it will shape and help make decisions on marketing materials. And down the line, like in the near term, it will make the business so much easier for her. Okay, case study number 2 is a cargo van conversion company. So another client is Tony. So he has a cargo van conversion business. And at first he really wanted to tell people that he could convert any cargo van in any way. And he was totally smart enough and creative enough to do that. He made great vans back to back for a pet grooming business and then a traveling artist. And they both turned out awesome. But that created a problem in that he couldn't figure out how to market to all of those people. He knew of like a dozen or more trade shows around the US that involved cargo van conversion, and he just couldn't decide which to attend. Most of them were quite expensive, and he really wanted to attend at least one, but he knew that he really wanted to make a smart decision. He knew that he didn't want to inadvertently throw his money away. So after we discussed for a while, I suggested that he focus his van conversions on cyclists and outdoor adventurers in the Midwest who are using their vans for extended weekend trips or maybe a couple weeks and not living in them, as a lot of people are currently doing. Like that's kind of a big trend. So it allowed him to decide. I'll get back to that. So the reason that we focused on cyclists and outdoor adventurers is because he himself is a cyclist. He's an avid outdoor athlete, so he knows what matters to that group, and he already has expertise with the lifestyle. He has an in the community, and he already knew of events that would likely be a good match and a good way to spend his money. And he would also have a lot of fun working with this group because they're people just like him. He knows what they care about and he can talk about that. And so he gets to talk about something that he cares about and work with people who care about the same things as he does. And right after making this decision to focus, he settled on one Midwest trade show, and basically to use that to see if a trade show can bring him those quality ideal clients that he's looking for. And he also planned to attend a number of bike races throughout the spring and summer, but we've had to pivot away from that strategy with stay-at-home measures. And then right away after implementing this approach, he got a new client who's a cyclist, and he's doing an amazing job converting that van. So because he knew what to focus on, he could explain what he does so well, and he could convert that prospective client into somebody who said, yes, I am ready to work with you. Okay, and then the third case study, the third and final, is my flower farm. Building off the story that I started earlier. After I spent time thinking about what was realistic to accomplish in the time that I had, as well as what my business and life goals and values were, I could finally look at the data that I had from the first 2 years of my flower farm, and I could look at it with a specific viewpoint of what was feasible based on all the constraints surrounding my flower farm. I had a lot of constraints on my time and my capacity and basically just the extent to which I could do the flower farm. So I looked at things like gross margins for different products, the labor that was involved in growing certain items and doing certain events like the farmer's market or pop-up shops or workshops. I looked at what I was able to actually produce. And then I thought about, well, what I enjoyed and what I could do best without daycare. That was one of my many constraints. And I figured out that one primary product solved a lot of those problems. So I could set aside the farmer's market, which was high revenue, but also high cost. It took a lot of time and labor to put together a farmer's market booth every week. And then I could select the work that gave me a higher margin. In this case, it was because it required a lot less time and brought in consistent money. And so I settled on subscription flower deliveries. And because I made the decision so consciously, I didn't feel insecurity about scaling back on walking away from the farmer's market or walking away from a lot of the other activities that I had done in the past to sell my flowers. I knew that this was a strategy that could make me money, and I enjoyed it, and I could do it in the time that I had. So after making that change in my third year, the flower farm became manageable and sustainable. So I moved past all those overwhelmed, foggy, lost feelings that I had for the first 2 years, and I could move forward on my strategies with a clear mindset and goals. And it turned out that over the course of the third year, I had more time to track productivity, like how much I was able to produce, how many flowers I was able to produce from my farm. And I could see that even if I sold every single flower, and I believe that I was able to do that, I would never have met my income goals. I wanted to make a living that was comparable to what I'd be making doing professional work. And I could just see that that was never going to happen with a backyard flower farm. And by then, I also knew that I didn't want to expand my flower farm. Like I definitely looked into securing more land, finding other ways to expand my flower farm, but I also knew that too much of the flower farm wasn't matching my personal values. And so expanding the flower farm in order to make more money wasn't actually going to make me happy. So I wound up walking away. So now we're going to move into taking some of these case studies and taking the stumbling blocks that I talked about earlier and looking at 5 ways to shift your mindset around marketing so you can create that better, more simplified marketing strategy for yourself. And then there's one bonus mindset shift. And again, all of this is about reducing your workload, simplifying, making decisions easier so you can make more money for your time and then enjoy your business and your life and feel that work-life satisfaction and balance. So the number one mindset shift is that your personal values have to drive your business decisions, even more than you probably expect. If you desire that work-life satisfaction and to feel that you control your business and not that your business controls you. So unless we are able to pinpoint what we want for our business and then set up the business with very specific intentions to achieve that, it's almost a given that there's going to be a disconnect between your business and your life. And we have to think about what we really, really desire. If we don't, what we often get is that business, like if we went into our business wanting freedom from the 9-to-5 job, oftentimes small businesses wind up providing the opposite of freedom because all your time is consumed with working on your business. So you don't get any kind of flexibility or freedom from that 9-to-5 schedule. And you might have to adapt your mindset on what it means to be successful. You might have to think really hard about your vision of success, not other people's, and what meets your current life, your place where you are in your life right now. So think for a second, do your goals and values for your life differ from society's goals? Meaning, maybe you don't just care about making more money. You know, so often we think we just want more money. But oftentimes, we actually want to spend our time in different ways. Like we want more time with our spouse. We want time to pursue the things we enjoy. We want to have more family time. We want to volunteer, or maybe we want a greater sense of prestige in the community. There are lots of things that we can value that don't equate to money. Money can't buy those things. So that's where I'm stressing that you need to really think about what your vision of success is right now. So I'll move on and give an example. And I also want to say that this doesn't mean that you have to settle for less money. You can definitely make a good income if that is what's most important to you, or you can place that in your priority list. And really, once you know what your goals and values are, then you can figure out how to make your business fit your goals and values so that you can use it to make more money, but it still doesn't control your life. And the way I see that happening typically is to focus on those several marketing strategies and methods, and then execute them persistently and consistently. It's very important to be persistent and consistent. So, for example, I personally value having about 6 weeks mostly off each year, in large part because of my son's school schedule. That's a major benefit of working for myself. But if I don't prioritize that and have a plan and a strategy for setting that time aside, it really easily gets filled up. My clients aren't going to say, hey, I know your son probably doesn't have school this week, so let's not work together. It just doesn't work that way. So over time, I have worked to place that flexibility in my business. And it didn't happen overnight. It's taken, maybe 3 or 4 months of really concerted effort to make sure that I'm setting aside the appropriate amount of time for our family. And so that's meant turning down clients, like a startup company, who needed me to be available almost all the time. And they didn't explicitly say that, but when they were sending emails at 10 or 11 at night and expecting a response quickly, it was pretty easy to see that they were going to want me to be available nearly all the time. And going back to the flower farm, I really didn't get that kind of flexibility. There were huge stretches of the year, 6 to 8 months of every single year, when it was really hard to step away because there was always planting to be done, weeding, harvesting. If I didn't do those things in any given week, I would be paying for it later. So that was one of the reasons I wound up choosing to opt out of the flower farm. So to recap, your goals for your business have to be grounded in your needs and your values for your life based on your current circumstances. If you desire to feel that work-life satisfaction and the control over your business, really have to put in that time to think about what you need before setting up your business and marketing strategies. So moving on to number 2, the second mindset shift to create a better, more simplified marketing strategy is having a clearly defined, specific target market. That's crucial to business and marketing success. And this is often called finding your niche. So before making any other marketing decisions, you have to define your target market or your niche and how you serve your target market. And oftentimes it can be defined by demographics, gender, income, location. But I tend to look at it more from a cultural standpoint. Like what does my target market believe in? What do they value? What do they care about? And what is their culture? So you can think about some of the following questions. These are kind of good ones to get you started. So why do your existing clients or customers choose you? Or why do you, if you're just starting out, why do you think they will? What do you do really well that you can be really confident about? How do your customers see themselves? Like what cultures and beliefs do they have? And then I also think about it from your perspective, again, of like, what do you do well? What makes you really proud as a business owner? And who do you love working with? So you need to be able to articulate your target market as descriptively as you can and as narrowly as you can. Basically, I like to encourage people to get it to the most narrow place they can possibly take it, and then they can always decide to scale it back up or open it back up to include more people or a broader market. So, for example, going back to the speech coach client, Angela, she has so many choices for her target market. And for the longest time, it was basically, my target market is a professional in the greater New York City area working in business, education, healthcare, or STEM fields. And it can also be, my target client is a medical doctor on Long Island, where she lives, who wishes to advance his or her career and reduce frustrating miscommunications with patients. So when you think about those, who does it seem easier to speak to about their problems? You can find a lot more people in the first group, any professional in the entire greater New York City area working in quite a few different industries. There are a lot more of those people, but you can't speak to them specifically about their problems using words that they might use because they're so varied. Moving on to number 3, a clear message and a unique perspective that, again, you can articulate and then stick with makes all the difference in getting clients to choose you, to opt in to working with you. So once you've established your target market and you know precisely who you want to serve, how, why you're great at it, and how you benefit those customers and clients, it's easy to state that clearly and succinctly in any kind of marketing situation, whether that's in person or in social media posts, product packaging, presentations, whatever. And before I go on, I want to say that this mindset shift, number 3, really comes from Seth Godin, who shapes a lot of what I think about marketing. But this one is very much like what he talks about and professes. So if you don't know Seth Godin, I encourage you to look him up. He has a great marketing mind and has just a really great perspective on life. So establishing this clear message and unique perspective requires finding your niche, which you did back in that target market phase, and then again establishing your messaging. So the messaging really comes from your unique skills and your perspective. We each bring a perspective to our work based on our past experiences, our interests, and our values. So, for example, I personally believe strongly in the virtues of minimalism in all aspects of my life. And through these minimalism experiences, I've also come to believe that marketing and even small business ownership don't have to be as complicated as we often make them. And I've seen on numerous occasions that a simplified business and marketing strategy creates an easier, more successful business that makes money with fewer headaches and less stress. So I have chosen to make this the major principle guiding my personal marketing strategy, as well as how I guide my clients' marketing strategies. And it provides me this clear perspective that I believe in deeply to share with small business owners. And then it also gives me this guiding strategy or principle for creating change. So like it's allowed me to create this process for figuring out how to simplify a small business marketing plan. Another example, Tony, the client with the cargo van conversion business, he has his own perspective on building out vans that differentiates him from all the other companies that do similar work. So Tony's priorities are safety, value, and custom design. He prioritizes those above a lot of other factors that other people might not. So he spent time developing skills and purchasing specific software and machinery to enable those aspects of his build. So he improved his welding skills so he could install these steel frames in his vans, which improve safety, durability, and thus value of the build, and then the ability to install custom seating. And he also purchased 3D scanning software and this big router to construct perfectly fitting custom furniture and cabinetry in each van. So now when he talks to potential clients, he can explain these 3 aspects that make him stand out from the crowd. And for people who prioritize the same factors, he automatically becomes a natural fit and they can easily decide that they want to work with him. So to develop a driving principle or perspective for your business, you have to take a stand on what you do, for whom, how you do it, and why you're good at it. And then be loyal to that stance. Feel comfortable with the fact that some clients or customers won't fit your niche. And that's perfectly okay. That's actually a good thing. And then you can politely turn those people away. And after some time, when you've been generously serving your chosen client base, and by generous, I mean because you have this great perspective, you know what you do, you tell people what you do, and then you can follow through on that. Over time, those clients will begin to share their preference for your perspective with others. So to recap, it's important to know who you serve and why, and have a strong perspective on what you do well, so you can fall back on that message throughout all of your marketing. It just becomes so much easier to talk about what you do. So number 4, you can make more money with less time and effort by paring down the options that you give to your customers. So I mentioned this before, many small businesses want to be everything for everyone. This happens when you don't have that strong sense of who you serve and why. You don't know how you excel, and you can't explain in detail why people should hire you or work with you. But this causes some problems. One of them is that it's really, really hard to craft a succinct, clear message that explains how you do everything for everyone. Your marketing decisions become so much harder because there are so many more choices to make. And that unique individual perspective that you bring, regardless of whether or not you can state it, is almost always lost. So you become indistinguishable from all the other people who do what you do. You no longer have any way to stand out from the crowd. A third problem is that you wind up being pulled in a lot of different directions based on what your clients want you to do as opposed to what you do well. So you often have way more products or services than you need and to serve your client base, and you're doing work that doesn't necessarily align with your abilities. So that's like number 4. Your work doesn't necessarily satisfy you or interest you, or use your skills in the best way. So for example, again, back at my flower farm, before I pared my marketing strategy down to that one primary option of flower subscriptions, I had so many products that I had to market, track, calculate gross margins for, and then put together and package. For example, I had large and small farmers market bouquets. I had build your own bouquet mini bunches. I had florist bunches, workshop supplies, and I needed to grow an immense variety of flowers to be able to fulfill the needs for all of those products. And after I switched to a subscription service, I only needed 1 or 2 sizes of flower sleeves for the packaging, 1 tag, 1 handout to describe that, and some products for like keeping my flowers secure during delivery so they wouldn't get banged around. It was just so much easier immediately. And I was also able to scale back the varieties I grew, only growing the ones that I knew people would like in their subscription bouquets and were easy enough to grow that I knew I could make money on them. And so when I stepped away from things like the farmers market and the workshops, my revenue wasn't immediately the same, but it was immediately about 30 to 40% of my prior revenue with about 5% of the effort. And I don't think that's an exaggeration. So by focusing on certain clients or products or services or marketing strategies, you can eliminate a lot of the clutter in your business, physical clutter and mental clutter, which saves a lot of time and energy. And even if you're thinking, oh, I don't really think that applies to me, or I can't think of anything that I would get rid of, I think there's a good chance that you could remove or retool some of your products or services and still be able to meet the needs of everyone in your target market. So to recap, you should eliminate the parts of your business that don't cater directly to the people you serve. Number 5, this is the final mindset shift to creating a simplified marketing strategy. Creating marketing content doesn't have to be a time suck. You can create a good deal of marketing content, if that's what your strategy depends on, all at once and well in advance by focusing on it. So many small business owners create social media content on the fly, and I was one of those people. This can easily take up hours of your week, or oftentimes it just doesn't get done. And we know that that's not the most efficient way to operate, but it's also daunting to think about creating a lot of marketing content all at once if you don't know what you want your message to be, what your consistent message is. But after you've done some of the work to pin down that messaging and perspective and target market, it becomes a lot easier. So for example, you might write a couple articles on like areas that you have specific knowledge about that describe your perspective in more detail. So again, it comes back to that unique perspective that we all have based on our prior experiences, and then articulating that and using that to build your business around. And so once you've written a couple articles like that, they can be placed strategically through your website to demonstrate your unique perspective on what you do. And then they can also be easily repurposed into a bunch of social media posts or email newsletter content. And one thing I want to mention is that I think people often think that they have to have tons of unique content. Things have to, they have to be saying something new and different all the time. But my perspective, my strong belief based on what I've seen work over the years is that repetition, consistency, repetition really is the biggest thing. Repetition is your friend in marketing. It requires you to think of a lot less content, and it also builds trust with your audience. So some of those previous examples that I just gave, you can develop that in a relatively short amount of time by sitting down and focusing on it. Because once you've developed your perspective on your business, it doesn't take as much effort to think about how to articulate that. Like, then you can sit down and write something, and it still takes time. None of this happens without some effort, but it's not eating up like 30 minutes of every day, like a social media post can, for example. So to recap, when you have a simple, consistent message and perspective, it becomes much easier to create a lot of marketing content in a short amount of time. And then the bonus strategy is, or the bonus mindset shift is, getting help with marketing strategy is not out of reach for small businesses. It's really one of the best choices you can make for your life and your business. And yes, this is kind of a plug for considering working with me, but there are tons of marketing and business coaches out there who can help you by just offering their unique perspective. My perspective, of course, is the minimalist marketing strategies that align with your business or align with your life goals. Other business or marketing coaches will have their own perspective. So you have to find the one that fits you best. But I really encourage you to think about getting help when you're struggling. I think that if I had sought help for my flower farm sooner, I might have been able to avoid some of those massive struggles and like the times of misery for myself and my family, and all those feelings of doubt, and I might have actually been able to wind up with a business that did match my values and that I could have stuck with. It's really just so much easier for outsiders to identify problems and opportunities that are often invisible to the business owner. And getting help is not necessarily as expensive as you think. So keep an open mind on that. And now, just to kind of wrap all of this up before we finish up, I just want to remind you that the reason you're doing all of this is so that you can clarify your goals based on your personal life goals and values. So clarify your business goals based on your personal life. You define your target market and you figure out your clear message to speak to them. You create a marketing plan based out of these goals. You pare down your options so you're not trying to do or sell quite as much. You're trying to minimize and simplify your marketing tactics so they don't take up as much of your time, allowing you to ultimately make more money for the time that you put into your business and keep your business from taking over your life, and then feeling more satisfied with your business and just having that general sense of joy and happiness with your life. So what's next? Well, you can forget everything I shared today. You can take what you learned and implement it on your own, or you can get help focusing on a minimalist marketing strategy that works for you so you can enjoy your business and make more money. And for the next few days, I've blocked out some time to meet with people one-on-one over a phone call or a Zoom meeting to identify where you're trying to do too much, and then how to create a manageable business and marketing strategy. So on this call, we'll look at your lifestyle and business goals and make realistic plans. We can identify where and how you can simplify and streamline and focus your efforts, and this is totally free. So here's a link to schedule the call. I will, just you can go ahead and click and you'll find a number of times available on every day in the next few days to meet with me. And so this is for people who have a business or are in the process of starting their business. You really should be coachable and open to trying something new. You should be feeling overwhelmed or unsuccessful in your current business or marketing activities. And then I ask that you show up fully for the call. So be present, be open and engaged, and be really willing to speak with me about what you're feeling. So if you're hesitating or if you're worried that this is going to be a hard sales pitch or you won't be able to afford it, please don't be. This won't be a sales call. It's really about getting you to see how you can start to bring some minimalist marketing strategies into your business. And I'm doing this because I see the struggles that people have to have a marketing plan or settle on a concrete plan that they can actually accomplish and feel successful with. And I know people who used to love their work, but who wind up resenting it because it takes so much time away from their life and all the things that they care about. And also because I have been that person who was trying to do too much, feeling like a failure, and not realizing that there were ways to do it better. So life didn't have to be so hard. The business didn't have to be so hard. So really, I really just want to help people have better businesses and more fulfilling lives. And if it does make sense to talk about working together, we will during the phone call. And there are several options for working with me. But the most important thing right now is for you to schedule the call using this link, and we will figure out the rest from there. If you don't know, if you're not in the place that you want to be with your business, what do you have to lose? Just schedule the meeting with me. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out together. So if you have any questions, please email me at wags2182@gmail.com. That's WAGS2182@gmail, or just schedule a meeting with that link. And I look forward to talking with you. Thank you. Okay. Oh, and I just, in case I haven't been visible on the screen, I'm not really sure. I just wanted to show up on the screen one more time and say thank you for being here today.